Thank you very much. My name is Oksana Sarkisova, and welcome. I would like to extend also on behalf of Open Society Archives and also my thanks to Csaba and the whole organizing team for putting together this conference. I am a film historian and researcher. I work here in this archive, and I would like to really congratulate the whole team on this wonderful precedent of actually spotlighting one of the collections and making it into a very rich and international event that hopefully will be of interest for more people also in the future. The first panel, entitled Television Broadcasts as a Historical and Social Science Research Source, is a wonderful selection of themes that will map a lot of issues that then will be brought up and further developed in the following panels. So it's actually wonderful to have everyone here. I don't see the fourth presenter. That's unclear whether that will happen, the fourth presentation will happen. If not, then you can have 3 more minutes added to to your presentations, which is a coincidental gain. Okay. All right, but there is no confirmation yet. All right, then I'll proceed with the with presenting the presenters. I'll go one by one. Right before your speech, we'll start with Ildikó Erdei, who is ethnologist and anthropologist and also an associate professor at the Department of Ethnology and Anthropology School of Philosophy at Belgrade University. Ildikó's recent research interests include cultural and symbolic dimensions of post-socialist transformation in Serbia and former Yugoslavia. She's published a lot on consumption and consumer culture, including 2 monographs, Anthropology of Consumption and Waiting for IKEA, Consumer Culture in Post-Socialism and Before. And her talk today will be on ethnography of TV communication, what we have learned from the 90s experience. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, the organizers, for inviting us for this really interesting event. I'm really thrilled to be here at the CEU and in the archives for the first time. But at CEU, last time I was before 15 years almost. So I'm really thrilled to be here again in Budapest in this wonderful place. Thank you for another unintended thing. Preparing for this presentation enabled me to revisit some of my previous researches done almost 20 years ago, because I'm going to talk about the events, the civil and student protests that happened in 1996-97. But at the same time, this also gave me an opportunity to watch with an old eye, with an eye of, let's say, experienced researcher, what is happening right now in Belgrade. Because just 2 days ago, a new wave of citizen protest started. This time, it was directed not toward openly political process as it was the case in the 1996, because that was centered around election fraud. This time, this is the protest about a kind of hidden state violence which happens in the context of so-called urban transformation, multi-million urban transformation project called Belgrade Waterfront, or Beograd na vodi. In any case, what connects these 2 points in time is that, in spite of several hundreds and several thousands of people which were marching through Belgrade streets, guess what? State TV didn't cover that in any way. So, as someone wrote at the Facebook, revolution is not televised. Again, it makes us, all of us, think a little bit of weird We have that weird feeling that history repeats itself in a way. And I have a feeling, and I think that it's a shared feeling in Serbia that 90s are coming back, or that at least 90s hit back in a way. Whether 90s are going to come back is just about to see, but what I will do now is to remind us on the role of state TV in Serbia in a period of winter 1996-1997, and I will talk about the ways TV interpreted the story of citizen protests, and on the other side, how citizens react to the news interpretation of their activities. As one of the most powerful means for representing the reality and important cultural force in the 20th century, television offers a model of thinking and behavior in all spheres of life. Simultaneously, as Durkheim would put it, it provides for focusing the social attention and mobilization of collective energy in important moments for the collective. It does so by marking important state holidays, transmitting important political and social events, thus contributing to the production of new forms of collective agitation, and transpose it into the homes of millions of its viewers. From an anthropological perspective, TV materials constitute a contemporary cultural stuff, out of which cultural meanings and categories are produced. Those who create for such media are, as Marshall Salins say, hucksters of the symbols, cultural bricoleurs, seeking and creating new meaning in the combination of cultural elements with embedded significance. By taking an active role in cementing the rule of Slobodan Milošević from the end of the 80s, the state television was openly legitimated itself as a vehicle of political power of the Milošević regime. After the first political protests in the 90s, organized by political opposition in March 1991, held in front of the state TV, it became clear that television will be defended with all means. It was named TV Bastille and have successfully survived in the project of defining the day for Milošević regime until the end of the decade. The final phase of Milošević's demise and the triumph of electoral will of Serbian people in October 2000 also included the TV. Only this time, TV Bastille was overtook by people and symbolically demolished by an impulsive action of a man nicknamed Joe the Bulldozer. Between these two events and points in time, a dynamic field of various public spheres emerged, and in all of them were in some degree constituted by their relation to the TV reality, provoking it, denying it, challenging it, answering to it, or presenting an altogether different interpretation of the events and processes. Most salient in that respect was a period of citizens and students' protests during the winter 1996-1997. Tens of thousands of people has protested for 3 months to defend electoral results according to which Milošević's party lost and the democratic opposition won in Belgrade, Niš, and several cities and towns throughout Serbia. The main form of nonviolent protests were the walks along the so-called media route that included the buildings of both the state TV and the daily Politika. By at first ignoring both the election results and the protests, state TV soon started to create a hegemonic mythical interpretation of daily events in accord with actual political goals of the ruling elites. Thus, television took on ritual properties and enabled the transition of its viewers and devotees into a liminal state of being in TV reality. On the other side, different political, social, and cultural groups took off the streets, created alternative political events, rituals, and used them as means of communication, opposed, though closely connected to the work of television. I suggest that this complex web of events, actors, relations, connections, and the ways meanings are produced, circulated, and appropriated within it should be taken as an integrative, communicative situation that could be investigated ethnographically. The main point of the ethnography of communication as a qualitative research method is that the communication by spoken language is but one out of many communication forms, channels, and communicative codes that exist in society, and that they have to be explored in their entirety. In that way, the researcher will be able to discern between communication channels and codes that are used by different groups, and to learn how, by that means, groups produce cultural meanings and simultaneously create communities of communication and understanding. The aim of the ethnography of communication is, according to Del Hymes, who follows Gregory Bateson, to, quote, retain the multiple hierarchy of relations between the messages and the respective contexts. The experience of ethnographic research practices that derive from fieldwork enable the researcher to closely observe as many participants in communicative process as possible and their respective viewpoints, social positions, and communication styles, to remain sensible to the nuances of the social context and to be aware of the different structures, degrees of elaboration, values, genres, etc., in relation with channels of communication, its forms and codes. If we translate these general principles into our situation, where we had TV as a principal communicator of messages, then we'll also have to include the other communicators, namely citizen and student protesters, street artists, cartoonists, as well as numerous individuals who have constantly been opening new forms of communication using different codes in a series of communicative events. And all of them were part of the same communicative situation. Nevertheless, there is always a possibility that all of them are in fact navigating within a common communicative field and that they share a certain number of core motives, values, and ideas on which they rely that constitute a so-called narrative consensus of a certain culture. Some extent of shared meanings is also something that anthropologists would try to sort out. Seen in that light, the ethnography of TV communication perspective applied to the research of civil and student protests in 1996-97 enabled us to reveal, firstly, the mythical structure of a media narrative, in which separate stories, their elements, meanings, and messages are treated as part of a greater narrative. They are, as noted by Bird and Dardenne, a special symbolic system which is daily fed with diverse facts of various kinds, but arranged in a way to enable the reading of a lasting and recognizable story in its diverse manifest forms. TV representation of the protests in the streets of Belgrade recreated a story well known to the audience, the one of the eternal struggle for justice, honesty, purity, independence, and simplicity, the struggle which the small Serbia has carried out for ages against the foreign, brutal conquerors and their servants, domestic traitors. Second, the communicative potential of ritualized action. Third, the effects of media discourse, the ways on which they act upon TV viewers and how the TV viewers react to them, which is often a critical link in explanations of the efficacy of media discourses and the political responsibilities of those who create them. Fourth, how deeply TV message is resonating with important cultural values, codes, and imaginations, especially those whose understanding is shared by majority of population. Widely acceptable language, the heritage of common stories, ideas, types of characters, cultural symbols, and narrative conventions form the very core of a culture and its narrative consensus and generate central mythologies. And fifth, and the last one, TV is embedded in society, or at least it should be. It is created within society, made up in various ways, from society, for society. It's still the greatest storyteller, company keeper, important in socializing process. Although today it is predominantly private owned, it should be thought of as to belong in the society. Thus, every attempt to use TV as a vehicle of some sort of social or political agenda has to understand the more general communicative forms, channels, and codes that inform television communication too. On the other side, the workings of the media should be better understood in order to provide critical accounts of the media itself and empower the media in its capacity to contribute to a better society. In short, we still have to engage with TV. For, in the word of George Grubner, turning off the set is not liberation, but an illusion. You can turn off the set, but you still live in a world in which vast numbers of people don't. If you don't get information and ideas through the box, yourself, you get them through the cultural environment created by the millions of people who are watching. Thank you.